Here's what some people are saying about the Projection Booth podcast.
The Projection Booth is single-handedly the greatest film podcast you could ever listen to or could possibly want.
Top notch. 5 stars. This has quickly become one of my favorite film-related podcasts. Always interesting.
A completely unpretentious yet fully comprehensive look at films from all genres.
The Projection Booth podcast, with new episodes available every week at projectionboothpodcast.com.
You are listening to the In the Mouth of Dorkness podcast. Here are Brad, Lisa, Brian, and Darren.
Welcome to another edition of the It Modcast podcast. With me is Brian Young, the Turtle Dork.
Happy Friday, everybody.
Yep. And also joining us is Lisa Gullickson, Wife Dork.
Hello.
And Brad Gullickson, Mouth Dork.
Doing whatever a spider can.
Yep. And I'm your host, Darren Smith, the Disco Dork. And welcome to the It Modcast podcast. Fistful Friday.
Can you believe we now live in a world with a third Spider-Man?
I know.
I guess a fourth Spider-Man if you count the television show from the 70s.
And it's the fifth if you count the Japanese TV show Spider-Man.
Turkish Spider-Man. Don't forget Turkish Spider-Man.
Goddamn.
Cinematically.
Which, from my understanding, had multiple Spider-Man in it.
Yeah. He definitely liked putting hamsters down Captain America's throat.
Oh, okay. So we're not talking about that. Our Fistful Friday this week is a Fistful of High School in honor of, if you have not guessed it, Spider-Man Homecoming, which was great, by the way. I've seen it twice already. I'm going to see it tomorrow at the Alamo Draft House.
Wow.
Where does it rank in your favorite
Number one.
MCU? Oh, shit.
I thought you meant Spider-Man movies.
Oh, well, it's definitely the best Spider-Man movie.
Yeah.
Behind Spider-Man 3, of course.
Shit, the Peter Parker scene in Civil War was my favorite Spider-Man movie. This is number 3, 2, 4, 5.
All right, so after Thor Dark World. Got it.
Yes. So in honor of that, our Fistful of High School. So high school films that take place in high school, or high school students, kids, high school age, teenagers, whatever, is involved in some relation to high school. So Brian, with that being said, your number 5 Fistful of High School.
My number 5 is a film I saw back in 1996.
God damn.
And it's you could say this is the action version of Dangerous Minds.
Really?
The Substitute with
What?
with Tom Berenger. I saw this in the theater at Rivertown, and it was. I don't know. I think this was back in that era. I was just going to see everything. Yeah, and I remember this coming out, and Tom Berenger, and I remember it being a pretty cool movie.
Is Ernie Hudson in that one?
Was he in this one? Ernie Hudson.
The Substitute is
Glenn Plummer.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, William Forsythe.
Mm-hmm. Someone asks, what if we took Lean on Me and gave Morgan Freeman an AK-47?
They used to call me Crazy Joe.
Yeah, this movie is completely ridiculous, but I had a lot of fun watching it back in the 90s. They made like 4 or 5 different sequels.
Did you like the sequel with Treat Williams?
No.
Because Tom Berenger was like, I ain't got time to do the second.
Yeah. But yeah, I'll just say that's my number 5. I mean, it's a schlocky. Oh, Ernie Hudson was in it. Yeah, I do remember. Yeah, but I had a lot. I remember going to see this, and I had a lot of fun with this. With him being the substitute teacher. It was a former CIA professional mercenary. So it's a ridiculous premise, but it worked for that time.
Right.
So.
No spoilers here, but I'm going to one-up you on silly high schools.
Really? Okay.
With my number 5.
Okay.
All right. Lisa, your number 5.
My number 5, I just wanted to put as my number 5 before Darren took it.
God damn it.
So my number 5 is Battle Royale.
Oh, high five.
Yay.
But the only reason why I didn't... Okay, I'll let you finish.
Okay, and the reason I'm including this is they're technically high school age. I know that the grades don't work quite the same, but they seem to be high school age to me. And definitely it takes the dynamics of high school crushes and grudges and cliques and turns the stake up like a bajillion %. So, like, for example, the relationship between Noriko and Koninobu, which then becomes Noriko and Shoyu, and how that high school crush now becomes a life and death situation for those 3 kids, and that is the bond that keeps Noriko and Shoyu going for so long. And also, I'm gonna call her Go-Go.
Yeah.
But her character, I don't remember her character's name in the movie, but her character and how she uses, like, she was abused when she was younger, but she also is realizing, just like you realize in high school, I have this budding sexuality. I can now seduce people with my shapes, and she definitely uses that to her advantage in a very clumsy, pubescent kind of way against these very hormonally charged kids that are also in this horrible situation with her. And then the girl who is freaking out, and then she kills a guy, and then he's like, but I've always loved you, that kind of thing. So, like, when you're actually in high school, everything feels like life and death. Like when you and your friend, when I was in school, I was in marching band, and when we went to band camp, and my friend was like, giving me the cold shoulder, it felt like this life and death, high drama situation. Well, what if you take that and actually put it in the situation of being high school kids? And I think it still works because you do get to see them at their school, and you do get to see high school scenes in the beginning of the film, because they go through this kind of lottery process of which school is going to, and then there's like the stabbing scene that happens in a classroom. So
and then the director's cut also has more flashbacks of them being in high school. The kid who plays basketball, the basketball team kid. The only reason why I didn't put that on there because in Japan, excuse me, they're considered middle school,
junior high,
which is nuts. Well, it's already a nutso concept, but even that, like when you say they're in junior high or middle school, whatever, like that's just insane. Like that circumstance that those kids are put through. But even as it stands now, even if they were high school, even if they were adults,
third year of middle school, which could either technically put them in 8th grade if junior it starts in 6th grade, or put them in 9th grade it starts in 7th.
But I can't remember how it translates to our grade school system here, but. It would probably be the equivalent of high school, but anyway,
it's definitely high school style drama.
Yeah, but I wouldn't even split hairs because it's just a fucking dope movie anyway.
And you can go back. Maybe we have some new listeners. Go back. We do have an episode all about Battle Royale with Liz Reed of Cuddles and Rage and Sweet Competition. We are huge fans of her and her podcast. People I think are cool. So you can go back and listen to that up, I think.
Yeah, I think that's her favorite film.
That's
right?
That's her favorite movie.
That's my favorite thing about Liz, that her favorite movie is Battle Royale. That's so cool. Yeah, but good
I think my favorite thing about Liz, we should do our top 5 favorite things about Liz, is how pretty she is. And she's really good at keeping a conversation going.
Well, I didn't want to be shallow, so that's my number 2.
How pretty she is.
All right, B, you're number 5.
So on our last ItMod Film Club episode focusing on John McTiernan's Die Hard, at the end of that episode we talked about all the like knockoff wannabe Die Hards.
Yeah.
Whether it was, Die Hard on a boat with Under Siege or Die Hard on a bus with Speed. Yeah. And this film from 1991 is Die Hard in a boarding school. It is Toy Soldiers. Starring Sean Astin, Will Wheaton, Jerry Orbach, Louis Gossett Jr., amongst others. Andrew Divoff from the Wishmaster franchise.
What would you like?
He stars as this Colombian terrorist whose dad has been arrested and is being held prisoner by the U.S. government. And his mission is to take over this boarding school so that one of the students Phil, his dad is part of the Justice Department, and he feels like if he can get a hold of Phil, he can get his dad to let his Colombian drug dealer dad go. And of course, you know, the group that Sean Astin runs with is described on Wikipedia as a group of pranksters. They're misfits. This boarding school is for kids who have been expelled from public school and other boarding schools. It's the lowest of the low teenagers. And it's a super silly movie. It's ridiculous, but it plays into that idea I had as a child of like, this is what high school is like. When you're in, you know, second grade and first grade and you're watching movies like Toy Soldiers, you're like, shit, high school's adult. It's so adult that terrorists could come and kidnap your ass. And you're going to have to fight back John McClane style with your own set of booby traps. And maybe your Dean Louis Gossett Jr. will help you out, but maybe he'll fail you. And maybe your friend Will Wheaton will be murdered, and his mob boss dad, Jerry Orbach, is going to have to retaliate and conflict with your own plans to free the rest of your fans from this Colombian drug dealer.
You really thought this out.
Yeah, I sure did. Did I? Am I still talking? I am. Toy Soldiers, it's a shit movie, okay? But it's a perfectly shit Die Hard knockoff film. You get in that mood sometimes. You're like, it's USA Channel, you're up all night, let's do this. Toy Soldiers.
All right. I totally did not get that takeaway when I was watching Toy Soldier. I was not at all worried about Jerry Orbach, Will Wheaton, or Andrew Divoff.
What about Denham Elliott as one of the teachers? What's going to happen? He's going to die.
I don't know that I was necessarily worried about those particular things, but I do agree with your sentiment as far as Die Hard ripoffs, and not a good one at that. My number 5 is going to be, so I guess spoiler. I'm still trying to decide if this film is going to be my number 1, but I can't mention my number 5 without mentioning my potential number 1. So The Breakfast Club can be considered like the ultimate high school film, the ultimate high school experience. So like Die Hard, which would go on to inspire and other knockoffs or homages or be the template for other films of that ilk. Breakfast Club is a similar vein. And so my number 5 film follows that template of having the jock, the outcast, the nerd, and the princess in a high school setting, but now you have like sci-fi horror element, and that is Robert Rodriguez, The Faculty. What?
No, you good. You good.
Brian and I were talking about this film before you came in our pre-production meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's cool.
That's what you get for having meetings without me, motherfucker.
Hey, to quote you, it's good, baby.
I say it like that?
Yeah.
It's good, baby. Okay, so this was I believe this was Rodriguez's 3rd film after Desperado, because he did El Mariachi, he did Desperado, and then The Faculty.
No, From Dusk Till Dawn.
He did this after From Dusk Till Dawn?
From Dusk Till Dawn is 96, so yeah, this was before that.
Okay.
So I think it's maybe his 4th film.
So it stars like a young Elijah Wood before Elijah Wood was really on my radar.
Right before Lord of the Rings.
But this film, I do know this, and whether Brian has admitted it to me or not, I think this is the film that made Brian fall in love with Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, I used to love that dude, man.
And I think this is the film where you fell in love with him.
He was that was my...
Brian wanted to be...
That was my guy. That was my guy, man.
That's weird.
Am I lying? Am I wrong, B? Am I off? Like,
no, I think that was the first time. And then, of course, Halloween H2O.
No, but in The Faculty...
Stop.
No,
don't say anything positive about H2O.
Well, not, because Brian's... In The Faculty, though...
No, The Faculty, he was cool. Yeah, Zeke. I like Zeke.
You loved Hartnett in that.
Was he?
Okay. I did. Yeah.
Brian has this real weird, like not weird, but he has this love of.
No, it's weird.
He had this love of Josh Hartnett.
Yeah, I don't know where it came from.
And I'm almost positive it was from The Faculty, like his character Zeke.
And then it stopped after Hollywood.
Because he is definitely playing like the super cool teenager in The Faculty,
right? So you have the
bad boy.
You have the bad boy. See, he would be Judd Nelson's.
In The Breakfast Club. And so.
you had the jock again, and you had Stokely, who was like the outsider, who was like, she would mirror Ali Sheedy's character, and you had Elijah Wood, who would basically be Anthony Michael Hall's character, the nerd. And so, like, I thought all that was cool because I'm a huge fan of John Hughes' classic. But I also, like, at this point in his career, I was a huge fan of Robert Rodriguez. So his editing, his quick editing that he would do during certain scenes to establish a sense of urgency. That was there, and just Robert Rodriguez at that time, the new guard who was with joining Tarantino in the new cool, and so there was just a coolness about that. That was one of the appeals, I think, to the character of Zeke. It was his coolness, but I think that also spoke for like the film. It was just a cool invasion of the Body Snatchers meets The Breakfast Club. And so, I mean, that's basically the long and short of the premise. And it is a classic film, but it's a really entertaining film. And I haven't seen it in a while, so I'm not sure how it holds up. But from memory, I just remember really digging that film.
The Faculty itself is a lot of fun. Like B.B. Newworth and Robert Patrick.
Yeah, Famke Janssen.
Oh, yeah.
That's right.
She's
Usher.
really good. Usher. You're right. Robert Rodriguez around that time. I mean, he was, part of that cult. He was like a maverick filmmaker at the time, so he was kind of, even with his book, Rebel Without a Crew, just like, just making the El Mariachis and From Dusk Till Dawn, and his approach to filmmaking and his relationship with Tarantino, coming in with that Miramax, that independent era. So, yeah, it was...
Yeah. I remember really digging on The Faculty when it initially came out. Not as hard as Brian would, but I think it's a good high school film nonetheless. So that's my number 5. Brian, your number 4.
So my number 4, I'm kind of going the same route. I'm kind of picking this movie in fear that somebody else may pick it. But then, the more I think about it, maybe it's not on you guys' radar because it's a classic film from the 80s, but I wouldn't necessarily think or categorize it as a high school film, even though it technically kind of is. I was more so going to pick a moment, but I'll pick the whole film. But the moment in particular,
man.
The suspense is building.
I know. The moment is the Enchantment Under the Sea dance.
Oh, damn it!
Oh, I'm
That was my number 1.
Oh.
Fuck! Don't worry, I have others. Ugh, not as good as that one. That was my number 1.
Brian, you asshole.
That's the problem with going with Breakfast Club as your number 1.
I'm sorry.
It's predictable. So I guess my number 1 is gonna have to be Hamlet 2. How many crystals can I mention Hamlet 2 on?
Why you couldn't go with Othello with Josh Hartnett?
I can't.
No, it's okay. You can use it. I'll find another fucking movie.
Darren.
Sorry. We could have the same things on the
Yeah, that's true, but it's not cool.
Just go with your 4.
Back to the Future.
Just ruin it all, B. All right,
Back to the Future. I mean, it's a great film. I mean, it's a great film. I mean, you could consider it a high school film, I would think.
Yeah, it takes place in high school.
It takes place in high school.
And everybody's in high school?
Everybody's in high school, even his parents in 1955. So we see high school in 85 and 1955. And I mean, Back to the Future is just one of those great Zemeckis films that really, again, we talked about Die Hard and it being a staple and what he was able to do with that story and just the whole premise of, your kid going back and having to put your parents back together. I think is actually pretty cool. And that whole sequence in the Enchantment Under the Sea dance to really get his father to build up the courage to knock Biff out and then not only knock him out, but have the courage to ask Lorraine, I think it's Lorraine, to dance. And yeah, the when he's playing like Earth Angel and it's just a great moment. So
what about the moment where Lorraine is hitting on Marty and it's really incestuous and confusing?
Oh, in the car?
Yeah.
That's great too.
Yeah, that was
like kissing my brother.
I know, it's like kissing my brother. It's like yeah,
you have just made some bad mojo.
Yeah, but that movie is brilliant.
It goes really from weird time travel incesty scene to weird we're about to watch a rape scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great movie, but it is sexually troubling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Lisa, your number 4.
My number 4 I picked because to me, it is like an example of a really, like, they churn out like summer high school movies that only exist in that summer, and then they just go off into the ether, never to be spoken of again. But I have a specific memory of watching this movie, and it is so completely of its time, and it is the 1999 film Drive Me Crazy. Do you remember this film? So it stars Adrienne Grenier and Melissa Joan Hart. And the reason I saw it in the theater...
Sabrina the Teenage Witch?
Yes. I think of her as Clarissa Explains It All.
Yes.
I loved that show.
Yes, I remember.
And I actually have another film I'm going to mention that references another Nick star. But the reason I went to see this movie is because in this movie, Adrienne Grenier has like this mop of like curly hair, and it reminded me of season 2 Mickey Dolenz. So I was just like, this guy is so sexy. So that's why I went to see the movie. I'm like, it's like Mickey Dolenz today. And but the story is like super generic. So Melissa Joan Hart is like the cool girl, and she's broken up with her boyfriend, like her quarterback boyfriend, and she wants to make her boyfriend jealous. So she asks her next door neighbor, who they've kind of been like childhood friends. She asks him to pretend that they're like going steady to make the boyfriend jealous, and then they fall in love.
That's the coolest shit. I'm in the friend zone, and now you want, and because he's so, let me guess, because he's so smitten with her, he's like, if I gotta,
of course, whatever you say.
Yeah.
But you know, he has he's like an outsider type. He's like a real prankster. He's got like a dangerous side. Yeah. So it's super stupid. Yeah. But I mean, like, to me, I remember seeing that for like going like, I just want to see a dreamy boy kiss a girl. 1999.
All right. Brad, your number 4.
My number 4, right now in the world of cinema news, the biggest story has to be Phil Lord and Chris Miller getting their asses kicked off of the Han Solo spin-off film. And I'm still processing how I feel about that, what really went on. I think it's going to make for a hell of a tell-all documentary one day. But, the reason I feel so crushed by their dismissal from the Han Solo film is, one, I do not care about a Han Solo movie. Yeah. But Phil Lord and Chris Miller have proven time and time again that they can take concepts that Brad Gullickson does not care about and turn them into something interesting. And for me, that started... Well, it started with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and then it went to 21 Jump Street and 22 Jump Street. And 21 Jump Street is such a great high school movie. Yeah. The story of these two doofus undercover cops played by Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, who have tremendous chemistry with each other, infiltrating this high school environment so that they can get to the bottom of who is selling this new drug, HFS. Holy fucking shit. That's driving the YouTube generation crazy. And Channing Tatum as, the specimen that he is, the ultimate jock, and Jonah Hill representing the nerd kingdom. They feel like they're going to go to high school and they're going to fit right into their social statuses of what they experienced back in the day. Yeah. And what they discover at this high school is that it's no longer just nerds and jocks and goths, but you have Dave Franco's eccentric extremists who are orchestrating the HFS scene that's being run through the coach. What's his name?
Rod Riggle.
Rod Riggle, yeah. And the cute high school girl Brie Larson. The first time I ever saw her in anything, she commands the screen. She's great from the moment she steps on. She's a perfect foil for Jonah Hill. You believe their ridiculous relationship in this film. And it's a lot of fun to see the conventions of the high school film spun on their heads. I love that, Channing Tatum's like, look, you got to wear your backpack the way I do.
One strap.
One strap. You got to one strap it. But then they get to high school. Everyone's two strapping.
I one strapped. I one strapped in 1996.
I definitely one strapped.
6th grade.
Did you one strap, Brian?
Back in the day, you had the one two strap. You was like
a dweeb.
That's what comic book fans did.
I two strap it now.
And then of course, because of the fucking lumbar, you got to watch that spine. But then it was like, so it was one strap. And then it went messenger bag for a little bit.
Ooh.
No, it was one strap, and then it was 2 straps, but you had to like wear it like super low, so it would like hang over your butt, and then it was messenger bag.
Oh yeah,
and now
I missed that phase.
I skipped all that shit.
No, I do remember
you didn't bring your books to school.
I had 2 sets. I had left some at home. And I had the ones at school.
I'll keep rolling.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed to use rolling backpacks because my high school was overcrowded and people would trip.
Anyway, so I feel like 21 Jump Street and its sequel, 22 Jump Street, are little miracles of movies. They should not belong, but they absolutely work. These remakes of a crappy 80s television show spun off into comedy, hijinks, action-adventure stuff.
And they tried to recreate it to know, like, what Baywatch.
Well, Baywatch is a pretender, for sure.
Yeah.
What Baywatch is missing is Phil Lord and Chris Miller.
Yeah, Chips and all these other movies they're trying to do but they're all trying to recreate what Lord and Miller have done with 21 and 22.
And that's why I'm sad to see them go.
Yeah.
Which is a really weird Star Wars story. And now we're going to get a Ron Howard tale, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know. The writing was on the wall with that, man. They just were not a good fit.
I mean, I know it's not a good fit. A Han Solo movie directed by Ron Howard. Who cares about that? Not me.
Hey, it's not going to matter. It doesn't matter. It's about the brand. It's about Star Wars.
No, it matters. I want a good movie.
They'll make a good movie.
Yeah, they didn't make one with Rogue One.
All right. Wow.
Shots fired. The more I watch Rogue One, the crappier that film becomes.
Oh, shit. Dude, you're opening up a can of worms. My number 4.
At me, bro.
Come at me, bro.
My number 4 is a more recent film. It is Malcolm, Jib, and Diggy in Rick Famuyiwa's Dope. Oh, sorry.
You weren't there for that pre-production meeting.
My bad.
Good, man. You good? Good, man.
And this is a more recent film, but like you said, Brad, when you were talking about Toy Soldiers and how when you were younger, you looked at that and you thought, oh my goodness, this is how, high school was going to be. I looked at a lot of films as a kid in high school and not necessarily looked at and thought this is how it's going to be. Like, so when the big appeal for Breakfast Club for me was, this is what it is for me. And looking at Dope, those characters, I wished that I were like Diggy, Jib, and Malcolm in that throughout elementary school, middle school, high school, I was the oddball, the nerd, the class clown. Like I was the outcast. I was the one who got teased. But I didn't carry it as cool as Diggy and Jib and Malcolm did. Like they owned it and they thrived with it. Like they had their own band. Like they didn't let it stop them. When they walked through the halls, they got teased and they got pushed, but at the same time, they still weren't hiding who they were and their joys and their love of music and geek and the culture and 90s hip hop and being in 2015, but still digging on 90s hip hop and being the ones that, what's your favorite Drake song? Or they'd be the ones that talk about Black Sheep or, DOS Effects or and not being afraid to do that and be themselves. So watching Dope, even as an adult, I just wish that I embraced my uniqueness when I was in high school in that way, because if you're listening to this podcast, you all went to school. You know what it's like. It's if you're different, whether you were the different one or you were the ones who made fun of the different ones. It's not easy. And so I wish I had the ability to find the positive in my different, who I was in the way that they do in Dope. And
I don't know, Darren. It sounds to me like without your one strapping or two strapping, you were pretty different.
I thought I was just being lazy and a shitty student. But it wasn't something that I was, I wasn't outgoing with my uniqueness. I just don't notice me. I felt like no one noticed me anyway. So, I don't know. I don't want to dwell on that. Anyway, I just really like the movie. It's a really fun movie. The cast is great. The dynamic between the three friends is amazing. You have Tony Rivoli from the Grand Budapest Hotel. He's great.
And the current Spider-Man Homecoming, which we just saw.
Yeah. Yep. Shamik Moore, who's the voice of Miles Morales in the upcoming animated movie. Kirstie Clemens, who's unfortunately she's in the new Flatliners film. So,
but she'll be in Flash, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. That film is a really good film, and I like in the beginning how you have the voiceover and they're showing like the different the class system in high school and something that I could relate to, and I'm pretty sure most people can relate to. So I just thought that it was a fun film, and it was something that, again, my takeaway was I wish I was as cool as those quote unquote uncool kids in Dope. So that's my number 4. Brian, your number 3.
Man, I was going to go with this pick, but I literally just thought of something else. I think I'm going to go ahead and go with that one. I won't keep you on suspense. This was a film that came out in 1990-something. 9.
Wait, you don't know the what?
8? 99. January of 99. I remember. Thank you. Varsity Blues.
Wow.
I know.
My hero.
I love
That's
it.
why it's on your list, because of that song, right? Because Foo Fighters.
It's great. It's great. I love it. No, but I love this movie. Again, sports film.
Love?
I do. I really like this movie. Have you seen Varsity Blues?
No.
Oh.
Vanderbeek.
I watched Dawson's Creek. I did. I love Dawson's Creek. I'm sorry.
Ali Lauder's in there, right?
It's all about the Pacey guys.
And Pacey, I like Joey when she was with Dawson. Her with Pacey.
What are we talking about?
Oh, that's Dawson's Creek. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
You didn't realize you just walked into Creekcast? Kevin Williamson for life.
Yeah, I know, right?
All right.
No, but Varsity Blues, I really enjoyed this film at the time when it came out in 99. Me being a sports fan and knowing a little bit about, of course, more so basketball than football, but seeing the dynamic of all these characters. Again, we talk about like ensemble cast, James Vanderbeek, we had Scott Conn, we had the late Paul Walker was in it. Oh, goodness. Ali Larder, Amy Smart, and then we had the asshole coach, John Voight, played brilliantly by John Voight. John Voight, I thought, was absolutely fantastic in that role where this team really has to kind of rebel against him because of the abuse that he's causing these players. To the point that some of them really just kind of want to not just quit, but commit suicide and do all these different things. And to see these players kind of like rally up and like come together to really do something great, I think is I don't know. It was just a really, really good movie. And I think it really. Even before Friday Night Lights, I think it really was able to kind of capture that high school culture of football, especially in like Texas. That's where high school football is really big. Friday Night Lights may have did a little bit better, but Varsity Blues was a movie I think really kind of set the tone and set the template for these type of films. So yeah, Varsity Blues, I really enjoyed that movie.
All right. Lisa, your number 3.
My number 3 is also a 1999 film. My second 1999 film on this list. Not surprising, considering that 1999 was the year that I went into high school. So I was my 9th grade year was 99 to 2000. Is that right? 1998 to 1999. Wait, because I graduated in 2002. So 9th grade. I was in 12th grade in 2002. Yeah. So yeah. So anyway, that was my high school time. That's what I'm saying. So and this movie I specifically remember watching multiple times, including in the theater, and I have a specific memory of watching it at a sleepover, and we must have started it at like 3 in the morning because I was the last person awake. On the final scene, And I better say what the movie is before I say what the final scene was. And it's 10 Things I Hate About You. I love that movie. I love it. So the final scene is like a super 90s band on the roof of the high school doing a cover of the Kinks song I Want You to Want Me, which I think is a really, I don't know. Anyway, so it stars Julia Stiles and Larissa Oleynik of my second Nick star. She's Alex Mack on Mixed Up World of Alex Mack. Did you watch that?
I did not watch it, but I know.
Yeah. It's about, she's like a mutant and she turns into a puddle. I loved that show. But so they're like sisters, and it's supposed to be like a retelling of Taming of the Shrew. I'm not cultured. I've never watched or read Taming of the Shrew. But so Julia Stiles is the older sister, and she's like hyper feminist grunge chick, and Julia and Larissa Oleynik is like a more preppy kid, and she wants to go on a date with some like high school guy. So but her dad says, and her dad is like super paranoid, she doesn't want his daughters to date, and so the dad says, you can date if your older sister is dating. And she sees her older sister as completely undateable, so she gets a nerdy friend of hers played by Joseph Gordon-Levitt, a friend zoned dude, a poor friend zone dude, to conspire with her to get Julia Stiles out on a date. And so they decide the only way they're going to get Julia Stiles out on a date is if they bribe somebody. So who do they bribe? The shiftiest guy in the school, played by Heath Ledger. And so you get the satisfaction of two relationships in one, because we get to watch Joseph Gordon-Levitt finally get Larissa Oleynik to fall in love with him through his everyday kid charms, and then while Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles are slowly falling in love through trickery. So it's super cute, and there's a really wonderful scene with Heath Ledger, may he rest in peace, where he is trying to get Julia to go out with him. So he serenades her in the football field. He's got like a PA system, and he's singing "Can't Take My Eyes Off of You," and it's adorable. And there's another adorable scene when Heath Ledger and Julia Stiles are like making out on a paintball field. And oh my God, it is the sweetest scene. I'm like, if Brad took me to a paintball field and started making out, I think it would unlock some kind of kink inside me that was awakened by that film. Oh. I want to make out in a paintball field. It's a thing.
All right.
So I think anybody else who graduated high school in 2002 would agree with me. And that's why 10 Things I Hate About You, essential on this list.
Brad, she mentioned that Nick star who was in a show and her mutant powers to turn into a puddle.
Yep.
There's a high school movie that could be on someone's list where a character had the same
Sky High. Is Sky High on your list?
No.
It's not on mine either.
Oh.
I love Sky High.
Yeah.
No, but my next film is a film that I think kind of taps into the same kind of feeling you get when you watch Back to the Future, that nostalgia meets 80s insanity, and it's 1985's The Heavenly Kid, in which Lewis Smith from The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, he plays Bobby Fontana, who is this greaser kid in the 1950s. Actually, I think it's the 1960s. And he's racing for pinks against Mark Metcalf. And while they're doing this drag race, he flies off a cliff and dies. What he doesn't know, though, is he has impregnated his wife, or his girlfriend, played by Jane Kaczmarek from Malcolm in the Middle. And she gives birth to their child. Now, Lewis Smith, he goes to heaven. He meets a fellow guardian angel played by Richard Mulligan. And he is told, like, look, if you want to get out of limbo, because you've effectively killed yourself. If you want to get out of limbo, you need to become a guardian angel like myself, and you need to help somebody else along their life's journey. And I'm partnering you up with this other high schooler. Follow me. And they leave limbo, and now they're in 1980s America, 1980s high school, and Lewis Smith discovers that he is going to be the guardian angel to Jason Gedrick from the Iron Eagle franchise.
Yeah.
And he's going to help this kid along. But turns out that this kid is also actually his kid. So it's this weird father-son relationship in which they're both high school age. I guess Lewis Smith's maybe a little bit older. He's like in his 20s. And Lewis Smith gets to encounter how society has drastically changed for the worse. Ooh, aerobics, tight-fitting clothing. Oh, my God. It's too much for his libido. And he has to navigate his son's path to a good life, a life that's more than just, scoring with chicks and living in the moment of, 9th grade to 12th grade, that there's something beyond these high school walls. And this is one of those movies, again, 1985, I was like 6 years old when this film came out. I watched it a bunch on HBO or wherever it appeared. And it gave me an impression of what high school life was going to be like, and it terrified me. But it also taught me, like, this terrifying 4 years that you're about to enter into, young child Brad, it's a limited thing, and you just need to get past it. It sucks. It will always suck for every generation. It sucked for, Lewis Smith when he was a teenager. It's going to suck for his son when he's a teenager, and it's going to suck for you, Brad. You just got to get through it. Yeah. Sadly, my ghost dad wasn't a ghost dad. He was a living dad, and he didn't come with me to high school and show me how to get into the girls' lockers rooms.
It's okay. Not all ghost dads are good. Go Cosby.
Oh, shit.
You're welcome.
On that note, Darren, what's your number 3?
My number 3. When I was in middle school, I went to Lower Baltimore Middle School in Maryland.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, there was a kid.
Dude, did you just learn this about Darren?
Lower Baltimore? Oh.
Right off Allentown Road.
Yeah,
yeah, small world.
Oh.
Anyway.
You wore the uniforms?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The purple bag, purple gym bag.
The navy blue slacks with the white shirt.
Yeah. How are Brian and Darren still learning things about each other?
That's the beauty of our relationship.
Lisa, where'd you go to high school?
Oakton.
I knew that shit.
See?
Oakton High School. Where did you go? You went to Lake Braddock? I don't know where you went to school.
No, I went to Centerville.
Wow, you're still learning each other. All right.
The difference is I don't care.
So in my first year at Lower Baltimore, there was this kid named Buddy. And he picked on me every day.
Aww.
Not exaggerating. Every day that I went to school for that first year. And
what's his last name? Let's call our listeners out on it.
No, I don't remember. So the following year, like I dreaded going back to that school because of him. Like you said earlier, Lisa, like when you're in school, like everything is the end of the world, like your boyfriend-girlfriend relationships. Well, for me, being bullied because of what I look like, because I wore glasses, for whatever reason that Buddy decided to pick on me every day was the end of the world to me, knowing that I'm going to have to go to school and be embarrassed by this guy, made to feel like shit, made me feel ashamed of myself and how I looked. So the next year I went back, it started again. So I don't know what it was, but one morning it continued as usual, and I said, you know what, I'm just gonna fight him. I'm gonna hit him. So we transfer in classes. I'm standing in line, and he does his usual bullying me. And to everyone's shock, to even my own, I yelled out, "Stop touching me and leave me alone." I never said no or stop or leave me alone to Buddy ever. So it got really quiet, and it shocked him, shocked myself, and shocked everyone. And to save face, he's like, "Oh yeah, well," because the teacher goes, "Okay, calm down. What's going on?" And then I got so scared, I didn't say anything. I didn't say, Buddy is bothering me or whatever. I didn't say anything. I just was shocked because I was like, oh shit, I can't believe I said it. I fucked up. So then she was like, everybody get back in line, be quiet. So as he's getting back in line, he goes, at 3:00, I'm gonna fuck you up. And so
3 o'clock high.
it was like 3 o'clock high, right? So I'm like, oh my God. Like what? But then like I was scared at first, right? So I used the remaining hours to think about everything that he'd done to me, all the times he made me cry when I would go home and feel shitty about myself, and like really had this identity crisis with myself because of bullying and how horrible it was for me. Like making me question myself, my upbringing. Why do I look different than my dad? And just everything. Like, where's my mom? Like, I wish I had. Like, it fucked me up psychologically. So like, I used that. So by the end of the day, there's a moment in Barry Jenkins' Moonlight when he is in school and he's pushed to an emotional limit where this person who is bullying him, he can't take it anymore. And he walks into the classroom, doesn't say anything. He picks up a chair and he smashes it on this guy, and he gets in trouble, and he gets expelled from that. Like, I had that moment with Buddy. That was my moment. Like, I went outside, and the scene leading even before that, when that moment where he's outside and the camera is circling him and he's just getting it from like all, and like that encapsulated that first year and that half of that second year. That's what it felt like to me every time I was teased. Like, just being in the middle of that and not knowing what to do and feeling powerless and just crushed under the weight of that. So that moment when he walks into that classroom and picks that chair up, like at the end of the day, that bell rung and you walk out of the building and the buses are lined up on the side of Lower Baltimore. I walk out of that building, Buddy's walking to the bus. For some reason, he turns around and he sees me and he walks up to me. He remembers, oh, it's 3 o'clock. I'm going to fuck you up. He walks up to me, and before he can get his fist balled all the way up, I broke his fucking nose.
Yes!
And then I went Christmas Story on him, and just was like when Ralphie went ham on the kid. Like, I did that. And then, like, there were some people who were gathering around, like, oh my goodness. And then I got up and I got on the bus and I sat down and I just started crying. But I felt like I don't know. I was crying because I was scared of relieved crying. But then I just felt like that didn't feel like me. Like, I know who I am as a person, and as a kid, like, I just was never, like, I never picked fights. I never did anything. I never wanted to hurt another person. But I felt like I had to do that because it was getting to the point where it was too much for me psychologically and emotionally. But like, I had this feeling of relief. So I go home and then I'm scared, and I got to tell my dad. So the school calls. And my dad, I have a discussion with my dad. And
did your dad know about Buddy and what he
did?
Yeah, okay.
And so my dad was like, well, my son told you about this last year. I spoke to you all about this last year. It was still happening this year. So, okay, you're going to suspend Darren? That's fine. Darren, we just stay home. We just go do shit. So I hung out with my dad for like a week and a half. But he understood. And I don't know, like that moment, like, sparked something in me to stand up for myself. So, like, after that, like, I began to take... Did
Buddy ever fuck with you again?
Never. So, he would see me in school and would go the other way, wouldn't say anything to me, wouldn't make eye contact with me again. And that in and of itself was so empowering. Like, I didn't have to go to him and say, yeah, I got you, I did it, I fucked you up, that'll teach you a lesson. I didn't have to say anything because really I'm still me at that point, but I still felt like I couldn't look at him, like,
because you felt bad.
Yeah, I still felt bad, but for him, that was enough for me to go, you know what? Like, he doesn't bother me anymore, and for me, that was enough to get me through the rest of that year and through the rest of my life. Because after that, I started taking like self-defense. So I took martial arts for like 8 years, but I never felt like I had to go out and do that. But being bullied, and that basically my pick for Moonlight being those two particular scenes, because when I saw that in the theater, out of everything else that happens in that film, like, that struck the chord the most for me because I was that person, like, in both of those scenes. And like, I've never seen that visualized in that way to where it just put me right back in that headspace. And again, like, a lot of high school movies are the super bad and like the partying and the fun and the geek and trying to get the girl and things like that. But very rarely have I ever seen that aspect of school visualized so viscerally and so true and so honest. And his reaction and the look on his face when he's in the office and they're talking to him and he's not hearing all that because you don't even understand what I'm going through right now. You don't even know. And how that came out of him in his retaliation to that other student was just, that was me. Like I was that guy. And so I don't know, like it was a very powerful moment in a very powerful film with other powerful moments. So I had to put that on my list. Sorry about the long rant. Just when I put that on my list, I wasn't thinking about going into the history of that. I'm sorry. That just came out. Like I haven't been back to that place mentally and emotionally in a long time. So
well, Buddy can go fuck himself. I hope he's really unhappy. Are you friends with him on Facebook?
I don't know.
Have you Facebook stalked him?
No, I haven't seen him since that year that in school.
Well, I hope he learned his lesson, straightened his life out.
Yeah, whatever.
Stopped picking on Darren's and stuff.
Bullying is not cool. All right,
bullying is not cool.
Brian, you're number 2.
So my number 2 is a film that came out in '96, and this was a film. I think it kind of changed the genre of horror. Going to Kevin Williamson, Scream. Scream was a film that was it was meta, and it was also like a satire of a lot of the slasher films that we got in the 80s and early 90s with like the Jason, the Freddys, and stuff like that. So it kind of took those premises and was able to kind of shine a light and kind of poke a little bit fun at it, but also be scary and engaging and still be able to kind of take those tropes of horror and still use them in kind of a fresh, new, and still frightening way. The character of Ghostface, I thought, was this faceless killer, in this kind of like whodunit type mystery. I thought was really executed perfectly. And then the characters that you have with people like Matthew Lillard, Nev Campbell, and Skeet Ulrich, and Jamie Kennedy, and then David Arquette and Courtney Cox Arquette. I mean, they really were able to kind of like flesh this world out and pepper this world with some really interesting characters in this first film that we got to really establish these throughout the trilogy of for Scream. And yeah, I mean, I don't know if I want to give away the ending, but spoiler alert: the killer is Matthew Lillard and Skeet Ulrich. But and that ending is so fantastic with the two of them. I mean, they are really playing it up, and it's a lot of fun. Like Matthew Lillard is great in those final scenes, and Nev Campbell is like the final girl. She really plays that role. She's like the Nancy of like the Nightmare on Elm Street character. It's a really good. I mean, I think like history, I don't think looks favorably on Scream, at least the way I see it. But
I think it's well regarded.
I hope it is, because I think it definitely holds a place, and it still holds up to me. I really enjoy Scream. I like the trilogy. Well, the first two. I like Scream and Scream 2, but those movies definitely have a very an interesting place in history, especially in that horror genre and what Kevin Williamson was able to do.
Scream 3 is not bad in light of Scream 4.
Well, hell yeah. Scream 4.
How many of them are there?
4.
4 and a TV series.
Oh, they did. Oh yeah, MTV. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Compared to Scream 4, which, ugh.
All right, Lisa, your number 2.
My number 2, yes. This takes place. This is another one where it's like, is this technically a high school? It's technically a prep school. So it's in the place of high school, and this is the first. This is the first rated R movie I saw in the theater, and this is Cruel Intentions.
Oh, I was like Child's Play 3.
Cruel Intentions. So I saw it. So this is another 1999 film. And I remember seeing it in 8th grade, and I was definitely with my 8th grade friends. So this must have been like summer, either, spring or summer. And I was one of those. I was not allowed to see PG-13 movies until I was 13.
Yeah.
I was certainly not allowed to see rated R movies, and I was certainly not allowed to see them in the theater. But this is one of those situations where it was Rachel Rogers' birthday, and there was like 9 of us girls, and their parents were paying for all of us to see Cruel Intentions, and I do not know why. But as I was watching that movie, I was going like, I should not be watching this. I'm learning of things for which I am not ready. I'm just not ready. That was one of the things. That was the first time I was like, oral sex is a thing. I had no idea. It never occurred to me. I did not have the opportunity of inventing it. I was just like, it's a thing. So it stars Sarah Michelle Gellar, who I was already familiar with from Buffy the Vampire Slayer. And she's like this like preppy prep school girl, and she's been tasked with keeping an eye on Selma Blair, who is the headmaster's daughter, I think, and she's also like a super virgin. And so, and she's like just naive, but it turns out that she's also dating Sarah Michelle Gellar's ex-boyfriend, and so Sarah Michelle Gellar wants to get back at her boyfriend, so she asks her stepbrother Ryan Felipe to seduce Selma Blair, which he does with the oral sex thing we were talking about earlier. But meanwhile, Selma Blair is also in like kind of a relationship with her cello teacher. It's like that kind of thing where it's very like seducey and backstabby, and everybody's doing stuff with everybody. And as I was watching this, I was like, oh God. And I remember specifically one scene where like Sarah Michelle Gellar is on like a fainting couch or something, or Ryan Felipe's on a fainting couch, and she's like kneading his crotch through his pants. And I'm like, aren't they brother and sister? Yeah, it was just so fucked up. Yeah. And like Buffy is doing coke from a crucifix and stuff. It was just like, so my brain exploded, and I haven't seen it since, but I don't have to because it's seared into my brain, and so that's why it's got to go on my Fistful of High School.
Brad, you know.
My number 2 is Rian Johnson's first film, Brick.
Yeah.
It is technically a high school film.
Yep.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is in high school. But what Rian Johnson does is he takes the setting of a high school and he uses that as his backbone for a Dashiell Hammett-like noir or a hard-boiled crime novel in which Joseph Gordon-Levitt, he gets a phone call from an estranged girlfriend, and all he can make out are the words brick and tug and pin, and she then turns up dead, and it's about taking those words and figuring out who is involved in this woman's demise, this child's demise. And it's Shakespearean in its language. We've all seen The Maltese Falcon, or I hope we've all seen The Maltese Falcon, and we've seen, Cagney, and we've seen Richard Widmark, belt out this lingo. And Rian Johnson takes all this, old school gangster talk, and he amps it up so that it's not just like one or two little bits of colloquialisms. It's a completely alien language, and the first time you watch it, it's almost impenetrable. And the joys of this film come in the second and third and fourth watches, and I'm definitely due for another viewing. I guess with Last Jedi coming up, the fact that Johnson can go from Brick to Star Wars is awesome.
That's great.
And
he's a consistent filmmaker that's not nearly talked about enough. Like his filmography is amazing. It's solid.
Oh, yeah.
It's rock solid.
Brothers Bloom and Looper. Man. These are really great movies and interesting films. If you just look at their points of view, they're all doing something differently, and as far as ambition goes, you can't topple Brick. That's a hell of a task to give oneself, and he succeeds.
I had the pleasure of another Fantastic Fest humble brag.
Boy.
So for about an hour and a half, I was at an after party, Birth, Movies, and Death, just shooting the shit with Noah Segan, just about stuff. It was awesome. I just kept thinking, you're in Brick. And Dead Girl, which is disturbing. But anyway, yeah, I tried to shit with that guy for like an hour and a half. So yeah, good pick. That movie, watching that for me was akin to watching Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, and it's in a contemporary setting. But this language that they're spitting out is from a different time, and I love that about Brick. Like you say, it's displacing when you hear it. But that's for me. That's my favorite thing about that movie. That someone thought to have these characters speak like that.
To me, it's like Rian Johnson saw the Coen Brothers film Miller's Crossing, and he's like, I could be even more intense.
Yeah, but it's a really good film. And it's a really good. Like, would you say that was sort of like a noir?
Well, I mean, it's playing
neo noir.
Well, it's playing on the tropes, but it really, honestly, Brick feels more. The Maltese Falcon is a classic noir that comes from a Dashiell Hammett novel. But the novels are a different entity than the films. And I feel like Brick has more in common with the literary side of that particular type of story than the cinematic side. I feel like Brick is much more of a hard-boiled film than a noir film. Yeah. If that makes any sense.
It does. It's a great film. That's one I need to pick up on.
Again, it's all about the language.
Yep.
And it's less about the lighting.
And the way they spit it out is just so cool.
Lucas Haas as the Pin.
Oh man,
is brilliant.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, I'm due for a rewatch for that. Good pick. My number 2 is a 1975 film directed by Michael Schultz. One of my favorite films. It's Cooley High. It's a film that I saw early on, and it takes place in 1965, 4 or 5. So it's from a time that even back then, like I could not relate to that particular era. But there's a group of friends. You got Cochise, Preach, and Pooter. There's these 3 friends and this is about their senior year in high school. So instead of it, they're just graduating and then this is the summer and you're spending the summer with them. I mean, you're spending the film takes place over the course of their final couple of months in their senior year of high school, and it's just about their day-to-day life, their friendships, and then I think around the second act, definitely all into the third, they get mixed up with some guys who skip school but hang out at school into petty crimes and stuff like that. They get mixed up with these criminals, and that has a dramatic effect on their friendship and then the rest of that year and then ultimately their lives. But it's a coming of age story for Glenn Turman's Preach, and it has one of my favorite musical moments in film. Period. At the end, when "I'll Be There" starts to play as he's leaving. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but there's a place where a preacher is in his final moments, and as he's leaving, that song plays as he's running, and it's just so powerful because of what preceded that moment. But I mean, it's a really good film. I never really thought about how much I guess I like Michael Schultz as a director, but so many of his films that I dig, like Car Wash, like The Last Dragon. He's made some films that hold a really special place, in my childhood. Brad, I don't think you've never seen Cooley High, right?
Nope.
I got that for you as a spoiler. I got that for you coming up for a homework assignment. It's a really good film, and it's funny. Obviously you got these 3 high school guys hanging out. Cochise is he's the jock. He's the one that's gonna, go on to have a career and get a scholarship somewhere. Preach is the writer. You've seen Cooley High, right, B? Mm-hmm. Yeah, Preach is the writer. He's known for his literary skills, and everyone's saying, man, Preach, you're gonna go on to do great things because you're so smart and this and that. And so Pooter's just, hey guys, let's go hang out and have some fun. But it's Preach's coming of age story. And that we follow him again during that last senior year in high school, and just the relationship of those 3 friends hanging out, having fun, but then also having to deal with impending independence and moving on to the next phase of their lives, and then choices that they make and having to grow up and mature. It's handled really well in Cooley High, and it has a great soundtrack, and so I think that when you see that for your homework assignment B, I think you're gonna really enjoy it, or at least appreciate it. But it's one film where I think, while not necessarily relating on a level as far as, well, this is what my high school was like, because even back then in the 60s, you got to think like, it wasn't too long ago that school was segregated, so there you're living talking about a whole different time and a whole different atmosphere, and these black kids and how they live in their lives and what that life is like during the 60s is a large part of that film. But it's one that, because of how Michael Schultz directs it and the script and those characters and how they're engaging and they're fun to be around. And again, like how touching that movie is in that third act. It's a really good movie. And so have to have that on my list as my number 2. If not just for that final Preacher's final moments, man, that musical cue, it's just amazing. So that's my number 2. Brian, your number 1. I really have no idea what your number 1 could be.
Neither do I. So,
are you serious?
No, I do. Actually, this is a film I absolutely adore and I love. And I mean, I guess the reason we're really doing this Fistful is because Spider-Man and Spider-Man Homecoming, John Watts has said that he really wants to kind of recapture the John Hughes era of high school films. Those being the 80s with, movies like The Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 16 Candles, and stuff like that. But there are certain films that have come out within the last 5 to 10 years that have been able to kind of recapture the John Hughes era of the high school film. And one of those films I thought captured it really perfectly. Hope I'm not taking anyone's pick. Easy A.
That was on my list of possibilities.
Okay.
Sorry, not using my microphone voice.
Good. I absolutely adore Easy A. I love this movie. I think it's a sharp and witty script. What Emma Stone, to me, this is, a lot of people consider Zombieland is really when Emma Stone really got on the map and really is the movie that kind of set her ablaze. But Easy A for me really shows her in working on a different level. And I think William Gluck, the director, who went on to do Friends with Benefits, which was okay.
He also did a really great movie called Fired Up, about 2 male cheerleaders that I love.
Oh, okay.
Just FYI.
Fired Up. I think I do remember hearing it. I don't think I saw it.
It's pretty good, guys.
Okay. Well, he must be a pretty good director, because what he did with Easy A I thought was brilliant, with actually the retelling of the Scarlet Letter, which was a book that we read in high school. And so taking that story and setting it in high school with this cast and these characters, and we have Amanda Bynes before, Amanda Bynes.
She's the man.
Became, kind of whatever, coked out, whatever.
Yeah, damn.
Something. She
retired from acting.
Yeah. But it just, again, the secondary characters, Patricia Clarkson, Cam Gigant.
I don't like that dude.
I know, that's the reason I said it. But
never back down.
But Thomas Hayden Church as the teacher, I thought was a great character, and the relationship that he has with Lisa Kudrow and their story that ends up happening between the two of them. There's some really good, deep storytelling being told in this movie, and I just think it's an absolutely fantastic movie that works beyond just the high school genre. So yeah, Easy A. I really like that movie.
All right, Lisa. I'm sure if you're not gonna go with, are you gonna go with The Breakfast Club? Because if not, I don't know what
I'm not.
I don't know what your pick could be.
Well, it was Brian who stole my number 1.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
He stole Back to the Future.
That's right.
I used Breakfast Club as my example of an obvious pick. Just as Back to the Future is an example of an obvious pick. It was a moment of weakness when I picked it in the first place, because I thought of a movie that's even more awesome and it is Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. I fucking love that movie. Sister Mary Clarence, well, Dolores Van Cartier has been called upon by the nuns to put the habit back on, get back into the habit, and go to an inner city school and teach those children how to sing.
Oh, with the great Lauryn Hill's.
That's
that
right.
movie.
She tells Lauryn Hill to get over her stage fright, get over herself, and start making some beautiful music. And she does. I mean, I'm not using sarcasm in saying that I really legit love this movie.
I can see that.
It came out in 1993.
Damn.
So I watched it a lot because we were huge fans in my house of Sister Act, the original Sister Act 1. And then, and so these were both staples. I think there's actually VHS copies of both of these movies at my parents' house, which says a lot, because I don't think that we have more than 10.
Yeah.
So it was like Disney movies and then Sister Act 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And I loved the music for it. I'll still, like, when it comes to mind, particularly, there's like one kid, Amal, who is like the little skinny kid, and they think that he's too shy to sing, and then he sings When Jesus Washed, and it's like so beautiful, and he goes up for that high note, and everybody's like, whoa. And then of course the end, so she goes to this inner city school. They don't want to listen to her. They don't want to respect her. And then she starts trying to like lay down the law and tell them what life is like. And they're like, you have no idea what life is like. You're a nun. Little do they know, she's just a fake nun. Mm-hmm. Now, I don't remember exactly the mechanics of how that works, and I'm sure it's not okay. But they essentially express like, you don't know what it's like. And then they start spontaneously singing. Like what they do is they don't need music class because they sing and they make music. So she decides to make them to a choir. They're awesome. And everybody agrees that they're awesome. So the sneaky nuns decide to sign them up for a contest behind their back and behind Sister Mary Clarence's back. And so I love that final scene where they get up on the stage and Lauryn Hill has the first solo, but then she sees her mother in the audience and she clams up for a second, but then she sings her beautiful solo, and then it goes into this amazing rendition of Joyful, and they're all wearing these like colorful costumes and doing dancing, and it's really like, it's the teacher found the way to get the children to express themselves in a way that's constructive and bonds them all together. I really think it's just a beautiful movie and then it ends with Ain't No Mountain High Enough. What a great song. It's a great movie. I need to rewatch it. Whoopi Goldberg, I think she's great. I love her and everything. Just saw her in Ghost. It's wonderful. Yeah. Wonderful in Ghost. So,
all right.
Yeah. Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit.
Brad, your number one.
My number one favorite high school is Vince Lombardi High, as seen in the 1979 film Rock and Roll High School, directed by Alan Arkish and starring the great P.J. Souls as Riff Randall, the coolest person on the planet. And what I love so much about this movie is, one, it came out a year after Animal House, and it certainly has a National Lampoon vibe to it, the way that John Landis directed Animal House, and this cast of characters and weirdos, and it really does celebrate the weirdos coming out of the Roger Corman studios. Alan Arkish and Joe Dante, they are all about celebrating the oddballs, the weirdos, the freaks. And Riff Randall, as played by P.J. Souls, is certainly like the coolest person in the film, but she's also a complete freak for the Ramones, and the Ramones themselves being mutantish within the punk rock scene. And I really appreciate how gaga she goes for this band, how her life is determined by what this band is doing, and how she can connect to them either musically by sharing their songs to the school, or physically actually getting to be in the presence of the Ramones and trying to do whatever she can to get in front of that stage and maybe even get backstage and touch Joey and Dee Dee. It's a cartoonish film. Mary Warnoff as the evil principal who just wants to smash all creativity. She is acting larger than life, but everybody's acting larger than life in this movie. And you're either going to be attracted to this style of performance or you're going to go run screaming. But, I look at it and I see how it celebrates Riff Randall's geekdom of music, and I see a lot of myself in her passion. And I think that's what I like so much about this movie is how it really does celebrate geekdom through the love of the Ramones.
Yeah. All right. Good pick. So as to provide balance, B, your number 5 was Toy Soldiers. My number 1 is similar, but I think I have more soldiers in my number 1. And that would be 1984's John Milius' directed Red Dawn.
Yeah.
So World War III, on the brink of World War III, the Soviet Union invades the United States. Oh, they do so in the Midwest, and they invade this high school. Wolverines. Man, this movie is nuts, first of all. But I'm a huge fan of John Milius. The cast is insane. You got Patrick Swayze, C. Thomas Howell, Leah Thompson, who's also in Back to the Future. Ron O'Neal's in the movie. Harry Dean Stanton's in the film. Who else? Charlie Sheen is in the film. This is pure 80s. The premise is it's nuts. It's pure 80s.
It's nuts.
It's nuts.
It's whacked out.
But I just remember as a when I was younger watching it, like that being a scary thought to me. That premise being frightening, because at that time for me the Soviet Union was a scary and real place,
a real threat.
Yeah. So that happening in our backyard, or the idea that can happen, I remember like being frightened. But I also I liked the idea that like these high school kids were gonna fight, and the kid in me who plays with G.I. Joe and has imaginary adventures and sees myself doing these far-fetched things and going on these adventures, who would go out into the woods and play with my friends and things like that. Like that idea of the high school kid, I would like to think like if this happened, I would be brave enough to fight back, knowing full well like in real world circumstances I'm gonna be scared shitless. But I don't know, like something appealed to that rebellious nature of those kids to me, and I don't know, like I just remember oddly enough being frightened to watch that film. Like when I'm gonna go back and rewatch it as a kid, like I remember being scared, but also like wanting to watch it. Like I enjoyed that film. And though that moment when friggin' C. Thomas Howell gets gunned down by the Hind helicopter, like shouting, screaming Wolverines, like finding that sad, because like I like that character. But then like just where that film goes and those final moments on that rock, and like what happens outside of the credits of that film, what's implied, like I don't know, like I remember enjoying that film. And again, but just that threat, knowing that, or feeling that, what if we go to war with Russia and then they come over here, and does it play out like that? So going back to what you said when you were younger, watching Toy Soldiers and going, oh God, is this what high school is like? Like for me as a kid, going, well, if we go to war with Russia, is this what it's going to be like? Am I going to be in school when those air horns go off and shit pops off? Like, what happens? So,
you know what the family-friendly version of that movie is?
The remake?
No. Ruskies. Did you ever see Ruskies?
Oh, my
that Soviet sub-captain washes up, I'm sure. He's friendly, guys. Russians are people, too.
Yeah. So, that's my number 1. Hit us up on social medias. Let us know what your Fistful of High School is. Is it Is it How High? Are they in high school and How High? No, they're going to college.
It's college.
No, but they are in high school high.
Fast Times in Richmond High. I was going to obviously have Breakfast Club because to me, truth be told, that is the go-to. That's my favorite
Fast Times.
high school film of all time.
Fast Times.
Yeah,
Footloose, Project X.
Project X.
with the monkey?
What?
Oh no, you mean oh yeah, no, he's talking about
No.
the current Project X, not the Matthew Broderick Project X.
Oh, it's
with
like-
Helen Hunt.
Yeah.
No, Project X. With the 3 kids with the party.
We just saw a Quantum Leap episode that practically rips off Project X, or maybe Project X ripped off that Quantum Leap episode.
Which one, the Monkey Project X or the one Brian's?
No, the monkey one. 'Cause
Okay.
Sam Beckett just transported into it. He leapt into a monkey.
All right.
She's All That. I thought Lisa would have.
Yeah, I liked She's All That.
She's All That.
In
yeah.
terms of 90s high
You know,
school
I thought if we were
films.
going to talk about Amanda Bynes movies, I thought you were going to do She's the Man.
Oh.
Just one of the guys.
I think I've
was
used
this
She's All
close
That
on my
on a
list.
fistful before.
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
I've
okay.
used She's All That.
Yeah, that's a great movie.
Not that I'm above reusing a movie in a fistful. 'Cause
My
God
Science
knows I do it.
Project.
Oh, my science project. Shit, that would have been on my list.
Weird Science.
Yeah,
No.
Weird Science. Here's my list
Yeah.
of shit I didn't mention. Me, Earl, and the Dying Girl.
Oh,
yeah.
I was gonna put
Oh
on
my
mine, but
goodness.
we've talked a lot. Easy A we mentioned. 10 Things I Hate About You. Ghost World, but they just graduated high school. Never Been Kissed. Did you guys watch that
Oh,
one?
yeah.
What about Juno? Is she in high school? in
Yeah,
Juno?
Juno's on my list.
That would have been great.
Hamlet 2's on my list. Because Hamlet 2 should be Napoleon Dynamite.
Oh my goodness, that is.
Oh, yeah. Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah.
And, of course, Power Rangers.
Saved.
Oh yeah.
But I decided not to.
Pretty in Pink.
Okay.
Yeah.
This
Gross
episode's
Point
already
Break.
like 7 hours long.
All right, sorry folks. Hit us up and let us know if any of those are on your list as well. Be on the lookout.
What's the
for-
one about the mannequin?
Mannequin.
Mannequin.
for our Comic-Con preview cast coming up because we're about to make our pilgrimage soon. Spider-Man Homecoming cast is out.
No,
Wait, it's
it
coming
comes out in a couple days.
Coming out in a couple of days. Our Trespass cast with special guest Rap Dork Physics will be stopping by, and then if you have not checked it out, be on listen to our Die Hard episode for the My Film Club. That was Turtle Dork's pick. That's going to do it for us. Stay tuned for all things Comic-Con. It's almost time, folks. It's almost time. Prepare to be bombarded with Comic-Con. We're excited. I'm excited. Get excited. All right, that's going to do it for us. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Go see movies. Go see Spider-Man again so you can listen to our preview, review cast.
And listen, let's go see Baby Driver again.
Again, yes.
Yeah. Support that movie. Do a movie day. Double feature it. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you all for listening. And until next time.